Welcome everybody to the Whatnauts Crossplay show, but this isn't your usual news show. This time we're here to talk about games, specifically one game, the game of, thank you, Resident Evil Village, because it technically doesn't say 8. But yes, I am joined today by the ever wonderful, the kind of funny fan himself, Ignacio Rojas.
Hey, how's it going now?
And we are joined for the first time by Calvin. I'm gonna botch it. Dimas. Dimas.
Close. Calvin Dimas.
Calvin Dimas.
Yeah,
also known as Amaze Hobbs over at Twitch. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. So guys, Resident Evil 8 is a video game that came out that we all have played and have beaten at this point.
Yes, it is.
Yes, no one will agree. No one has actually. No one here has beaten the game. No one has beaten it. I am only 2 hours in. I think Ignacio is three-ish hours in, and Calvin, I don't think you've started it actually.
No, I think I've beaten it 2 times now.
2 times?
Yeah.
So Ignacio, how many times have you beaten this game?
One, like I think.
One time. I have beaten the game 6 times.
Have you really?
I have. I have beaten the game 6 times.
Ignacio's face right now.
So I just want to.
Alan.
Yes.
Can you tell the people why you beat it 6 times? Was it that you liked it that much that you wanted to play it 5 more times afterwards?
You know that Ignacio, that's an interesting question, and we will get to that in a minute. But first, I want to start with just our history. How big of a Resident Evil fan are the three of us? Ignacio, I'm going to start with you. What's your history? How big of an RE fan are you? Where are you coming from?
That's an interesting question. So I did grow up with a PlayStation 1 and a PlayStation 2 and a PlayStation 3 and a PlayStation 4 and a PS Vita. But I never really played any Resident Evil games growing up. And so I think it would have been like 4 years ago, I decided to play the Resident Evil 1 version for the PS4, which is kind of like an enhanced version, still same gameplay but better visuals.
All right.
Because it was one of those holes in my gaming knowledge. I had never played a Resident Evil game before that.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed it. And so, yeah, then after that, when Resident Evil 2 remake came out, I played it. 3 remake came out, I played it. And then this year, at the beginning of this year, I played through Resident Evil 7, and I also really enjoyed it. So that's pretty much my journey with Resident Evil games.
All right, so not an OG RE fan, kind of got into the more modern-esque remake era of Resident Evil.
I mean, it started with the Resident Evil 1. I don't remember if they called it remake, remaster.
I don't think they ever called RE1. Like, it's just a better version of RE1.
Yeah, and that one is still the same gameplay as the older ones. It's still big camera angles, tank controls.
Now the diehard defender of Resident Evil 7, Calvin, what's your history with Resident Evil? Where are you coming from?
I'm the diehard defender. So it's interesting because I also got to Resident Evil late, but it was one of those things where I would go to Blockbuster back in the day. I would see Resident Evil on the shelf. And I was talking about the remake, the GameCube version. Yeah. And I didn't play horror games for the longest time. I was like, that's too scary. That's too spooky. I'm not going to do it. And the Resident Evil movies also kind of came out not alongside, but around the time that they put out remake. And then Resident Evil 4 would come out, I think, a year or 2 after. I don't remember the timeline on that, but I watched the Resident Evil movie with a friend, and he's like, it's not scary. And like, it wasn't until the end, because what scared me about it was not the zombies or people getting bit. It was the fact that they contain the zombies, and then at the end they get out. And that's what scared me for some reason. So for years and years and years, I was like, I don't want to do Resident Evil. I don't want to do scary games. And over time, I got more brave and started to delve deeper. But what got me into it was Game Informer does a show called Replay, where every Saturday they will go and play some old game that's relevant. And they also do something called Super Replays, where they play through the whole thing. So they played Resident Evil 1 on the PS1 in one episode, and then they played GameCube remake in the next episode. So they do PS1, GameCube, PS1, GameCube. And what made me fall in love with it is Tim Turi, who's now at Sony, used to write for Game Informer. He would go through and break it down almost like a speed run and be like, okay, so you want to kill this zombie here because you only go through this area once, it's not important. But this zombie, you don't want to kill because it actually becomes easier to dodge and break everything down. But then he'd go into the lore of like, oh yeah, we're going to do this part. We're going to come back to this area. And it's really important. And they kind of reference this in Resident Evil 2 and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I could hear the gears turning. I'm like, I have to play this game. I have to play this game. So I played Resident Evil 1 on the PC. That was 2014. Played through it.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I really like this. And Revelations 2 came out like a little bit later. Revelations 2 is one of like the side games that isn't one of the mainline games, but it's not a spin-off. I mean, I guess it is kind of a spin-off in a way. But it was a kind of callback to the original games because everyone talks about 1, 2, and 3. People talk about 4. People talk about the boulder punching from 5, and then people tend not to like 6. And 7 wasn't out yet, so people are like, Resident Evil's fallen. Revelations 2 maybe is like showing that Capcom's getting back on track.
Yeah. Well. I think that's
what?
I want to interject because I think that's interesting because I think that makes me the oldest Resident Evil technically fan here because I never played the original ones myself because I'm the diehard. I'm a Leon S. Kennedy stan. RE4 is my child. And I think that game came out before the enhanced version of RE1? Or is it around the same time? So I think
it's around.
I know the enhanced version came out on GameCube first.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was before 4 or not.
Well,
I'd have to Google it.
It seems none of us are Resident Evil boomers, I guess. We never grew up playing the original franchise, and that's good because I don't think Resident Evil 8 pulls from some of the OG games. So now I want to ask, I'm not going to give a lot of my thoughts early on because playing RE8 so many times has given me some very unique opinions. So I just want to start with something with the spoiler-free version. We're not going to talk about the story yet. We're going to talk about kind of gameplay and mechanics. So I want to talk to you guys with prior games you've played and your experiences with the video games. How did you feel how Resident Evil 8 controlled? And what were your general positives that you liked about the game? Kelvin, I want to go to you. What are your positives on this game? Its strengths.
So I think when you look back at the original Resident Evil, it's famous for its tank controls. It's not going to go in there. You're not going to run and gun. And the later games, 4, 5, and 6, now I haven't played 6, but I know 4 and 5 are more action-based. And I feel like in 8, you get that marriage of action from 4, but you can't just sit there and just be like, okay, I'm just gonna mow down these lichens. So I think sitting there and kind of having to plan out your shots a little bit and having shotgun and wait, because the enemies stagger. So I think it plays like a modern FPS, which I think is a great way for people to get in, but it still harkens back to those Resident Evil roots a little bit. There's no tank control mode per se, but you still have to control your shots.
The game's not tanky, but it feels like it could have tank controls. Okay. Ignacio, what about you? What's the strength you took away from this game that you really loved? Ignacio's like, I didn't like the game. He goes, I didn't like it at all.
I liked the game. I like the game. My problem is that I don't know if I can necessarily point at something that it's strength. It's a beautiful game.
Mm-hmm.
Mechanically, it is pretty well. I like it is the implementation of the dual sense.
Oh,
you didn't even try this.
I don't use the PlayStation's features, so I don't know what vibration or the triggers are like.
Oh, that's interesting.
And overall, I think it is a solid action game.
Okay, so you would say it's more of an action game than a horror game?
Yep, and therein lies my problems with it.
Wait, so you don't feel like the game has one single strength? It just kind of has a lot of little strengths, but overall, you're saying
I think overall overall, it is a good game. It is a solid game. It is a game that by the end of it, I did really enjoy.
Okay.
But I don't know if I can necessarily point at one specific thing that I really enjoyed.
See, I'm not gonna give any. I'm gonna give the mechanics specifically because being a Resident Evil 4 fan, I love the kind of actiony crafting management that Resident Evil 4 really brought, at least to me, to the forefront, because that's my first game. But I also really love that kind of slow horror tension that Resident Evil 7 brought back, and what Resident Evil 2 and all those have. And I mentioned it before, but Resident Evil 8, to me, its greatest strength is it somehow strikes a great balance between the action Resident Evil that it took too far and the more horror tension of original Resident Evil.
I agree with that.
I feel like it struck. I mean, it obviously it doesn't do it perfectly. It's hard to appease both sides, but it tried really hard, and I feel like overall it did succeed.
It tried, yeah. It tried.
It tried.
Sure. That's for sure. It did try.
Well, Ignacio, you only have a surface knowledge playing the game one time. So since it's a good game, what are the bad? What did Resident Evil 8 fail at the most?
Oh, it failed to me at being a continuation of what Capcom was doing with Resident Evil.
What?
Because
really?
Yeah, so we all know that Resident Evil 1 through 3 were the horror games of the franchise. They kind of like reinvented survival horror games. And then 4, 5, and 6, that's when the franchise went more towards the action aspect or more towards action. And that's also when people say that the game fell down. Because that's not the strength of Resident Evil. I would say it isn't action. The place Resident Evil should be is survival horror, and that's when Resident Evil 7 came out, that was them going back to that. And so now we have Resident Evil 8, and to me, Resident Evil 8 is going to repeat what happened with 4, which was going from survival horror to action, and then hopefully it doesn't go fully to action.
No, finish. I have a really interesting, like,
I think Resident Evil is at its strongest when it is survival horror game, when it is confined to either a mansion, a house, police station, whatever, Castle Dimitrescu in this case.
Village.
But no, see that Castle Dimitrescu and maybe half of the Dollhouse, to me, that had more hints of survival horror Resident Evil.
Yes.
That's a small part of the game. And so that's my problem, that they had something with Resident Evil 7. They went back to survival horror, which I think is where Resident Evil thrives the best. And they are now again going away from that. I wouldn't call Resident Evil 8 a scary game.
I mean, I would call one section of that game pretty scary.
One section.
No. Okay.
Are you talking about the Dollhouse?
Hang on. I have one good counter to
half a section.
To you saying that Resident Evil 8 is an action game. Playing through the game so many times, you're right that the game does lean into its action roots. But I actually find Resident Evil 8 to not be as consistently actiony as this is going to be a bold statement, as like even RE4 and to a degree RE7, because in RE7, when you get to that end section on the boat with Mia, that just feels like it's trying to be that action section of the game, but it doesn't do it very well, and it's kind of boring and mundane, where Resident Evil 8 does that a lot better. But like playing the game so many times, there's a lot of sections of the game that you're not fighting non-stop enemies, only in the stronghold, and then in the factory. But even in the factory, I want to say that it's also kind of horror-esque, because a part of horror is trying to manage your ammo and capacity. The certain enemies in there that you have to use explosives on, if you're playing on a higher difficulty and you're not saving those enemies are scary, because a lot of your weapons don't do anything to them.
No, I feel like there were situations more often than not, I had way more than what I needed.
But you played on standard, though.
Yeah.
I also play the other games on standard.
Okay, yeah. So now I'm gonna throw this to Calvin because I want you to talk about the game's biggest downside to you.
Yeah, so I will agree with Ignacio that even though I love this game, that I was a little disappointed that, and this was an issue with Resident Evil 4 as well, where you're kind of prepping in the same way you play Resident Evil 2 or 3, or if you played Code Veronica back in the day, where there is a hard boss check if you don't have your stuff together. You basically fail the game. And you're at the end of the game, you're like, oh, okay, I have the Magnum, I have the Sniper, I have all these great weapons, and I'm set. I don't really need to over-prepare, where RE2 and 3, you kind of do a little bit, not as much as Code Veronica, but as far as outside of that, where I feel like the game doesn't, I guess, vibe with me, is in that factory setting. I don't know, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but the pacing when you get there, it just feels like it drags on a little bit too long. And even when I went back through and played on my second playthrough, I knew where I was going. I'm just like, okay, this feels like this weird, like, I know why you have to have it because each lord needs to have a little section of their own. Yeah. But it just feels like thematically what was going on there. It creates a definitely more interesting world and expands on what's going on in that village, but at the same time they kind of build it up to like, hey, this is what's going to happen, and then it subverts your expectations, so that's interesting, but at the same time it's just like I just kind of wanted to go in there, maybe explore a little bit, and then have a boss fight, and then maybe see more of that ending section maybe expanded upon a little bit, but that's just me. So I
mean, to be fair, the worst part of that factory section is that place is damn confusing.
Yes.
That place, like, I know how to speed through there now playing the game so many times, but like that place is just a maze, and I don't like it for that. But I feel like I like
I like
the factory more than I like the boat. I like the latter half of RE8 more than I like the latter half of Resident Evil 7, only because I feel like 8 was just better.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I feel like once you get to the boat section, it loses its steam a little bit, and then it kind of comes back in 7.
Yeah.
Whereas 8, I feel like it is kind of a bit more consistent. The dollhouse is still my favorite part. Yeah, I think a lot of people have said that. But yeah, I think the consistency is more thorough.
Let me tell you this right now, right? Let me tell you this. The doll section, after the initial scare of it's gone, that section sucks because it's so slow.
What do you mean?
Well, because like going into the, I guess because I'm gonna just mention the details of the spoiler part. Confetti spoiler. Oh no! Don't click away now if you don't want to know about the thing that we're gonna talk about.
Well, don't click away. Just skip ahead.
Yeah, or skip ahead to some other point where I'm not doing this.
Put in some confettis.
Yeah, when confetti comes back on, you can resume. So in the dollhouse, you got the big giant mutated bloody baby, right? That section is terrifying when you first get there. Like for one, Ethan's flashlight, dude, come on, put some extra strength batteries in that damn flashlight. That thing's got to get so close before I can see it. I don't like that. And that section is terrifying, and it's amazing. But after the initial scare of it's gone, that section I feel like suffers the most because there's no combat for you to engage with, and there's not a whole lot of lore going on there for you to kind of be invested, like Heisenberg's banter and his killing Miranda and everything else. So it's just you rushing through the puzzle as fast as you can, walking, you run through the hallway, baby shows up, run away, wait for it, and then gets past you, run through. Like that section, at least on even one other playthrough, I feel suffers the most because it's just slow and it only has that initial value. And that's why I feel like the Heisenberg factory section holds more value on repeat playthroughs because at least you're being engaged, whether it's easy or difficult. No matter what difficulty, that dollhouse on every difficulty I've played on, even Village of Shadows, is literally the same. Nothing changes. The baby's not faster. Your flashlight's not worse. It's just slow. And that could just be my own. That's my. I maybe playing the game multiple times kind of sours my experience on certain sections.
Sounds like it was a mistake.
Wow.
Yeah, I can see that. The dollhouse for sure might be the weakest when it comes to extra stuff. I think the strength of the dollhouse is probably the trying to figure out how to escape, and also the scariness of it, of being chased, of the dolls themselves. And I think
those dolls are terrifying when they jump up on you.
but I think that one half of the dollhouse, I would say, and then Castle Dimitrescu are the closest that the game felt to Resident Evil. Because to me, the rest of the game is all very linear. Even you say that the Heisenberg's hideout, you say that that's a maze. I cannot see that. To me, that section is very linear.
I can see how it's linear, but like when you're looking for all the treasures and you're trying to find all the cool trinkets and stuff, that's when it becomes a maze.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. On the baby part, I get the sentiment that, like, hey, it's very lore light, but I also would disagree with that, because even though you're not reading a lot of documents and it's more about like a set piece moment, I think it was cool for Resident Evil to lean into the psychological horror side of things that we see in things like Silent Hill. It's very PT inspired, obviously, but because we see in the Resident Evil 7 demo, I don't know if you guys played that, but when that dropped, they were ghosts. I don't remember if it was Evelyn or who it was, but people are like, is there a paranormal thing going on here? People had no idea what was going on with Resident Evil 7, which I think generated a lot of hype for it.
Yeah.
But with the baby section, I think it's Ethan, he's hallucinating, obviously, but I like them leaning into that psychological horror of, like, Ethan's trying to get his baby back, and then now there's this baby horror, spooky giant fetus thing chasing him because he's so focused on that. So I like that side of it, but I agree with it being lore light from like the traditional standpoint of Resident Evil. Lore.
I mean, honestly, from looking at it, like what I feel is probably the weakest part of that section as well is Beneviento was underutilized. Like, I wanted to know more about her than anyone else.
Yeah.
Like, and that's including everyone's big mama. I wanted to know more about Beneviento. Like, so okay.
I think yours is the the least of her, and also her whole section I think would be the shortest of all of them.
Yeah, and even then, like, even if it's more puzzle based, I do enjoy Beneviento's section more than Moreau's. I don't care for Moreau's section, and I think that's not because his section's necessarily, I mean, it's linear and kind of poorly designed, but I don't care about Moreau himself. But I think that's intentional. I think you're not supposed to like Moreau because he's just a bumbling doofus.
He's got mommy issues. They all kind of do, but like it's more evident with him because he's like, "Mommy, why don't you love me?" Whereas Lady Dimitrescu or Dimitrescu, I'm sorry, and you don't really see, I can't say the doll lady's name, but you don't really see it from them. And then maybe you can even argue Heisenberg has a little bit more of like a resentment from his side, but there's all some form of mommy issues there.
Well, I felt, besides his section, I thought Heisenberg was the most interesting of all of them.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like Heisenberg, like I'm sad that he just kind of like has his section and then he's just defeated. Like, I thought it would have been a lot better if Heisenberg maybe like got away. Like, you thought you killed him and then he got away and then maybe he kind of comes up later. Cause like because like before you learn the whole thing, like when Heisenberg talks of using Rose's power to kill Miranda, I wanted to know exactly what he was going to do. Like, what was he going to do?
Yeah, his boss fight, I think it is a bit disappointing. How it ends just him becoming this mechanical creature and you fighting with your mechanical vehicle.
It's not quite metal.
Oh yeah, metal alloy, which I do not understand why Heisenberg wouldn't be able to.
That's right.
To control it.
Oh, I didn't even think about that, but yeah.
Yeah, because it specifically is brought to the attention of like, it's not metal, it's alloy, and it's like, why can't you control it? I don't know.
Chris says that it is a metal alloy, which I don't get why he wouldn't be able to control it.
God, it's Chris. What he says is law. Now, see, okay. So like, obviously the castle section. Now the castle section, while short and only a small part of the game, the castle section, while short, is literally at the perfect spot of the game, because that's the part that like that part is so perfectly designed with the routing. The puzzles are kind of simple. But like the castle section is such a great way to captivate you, and I feel like the castle did a great job and a bad job. It did great that it captivated you, but then it did bad because then it set up your impressions for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And the rest of the game doesn't live up to
like
the castle.
Yep.
Yeah, it isn't like that.
I mean, like, Beneviento section is great. I feel like Beneviento's could have been great if it was longer and didn't have action, but had like a bit more action, like having, as Calvin, you mentioned, like hallucinations, having Ethan fight ghosts throughout the house. Like, imagine the house being way bigger and you're trying to shoot these ghosts while the baby's chasing you.
Okay.
Kind of referencing.
I can see that. I can see that.
Sure.
Like, I think that would have expanded that section. Wouldn't have made it the castle, but it would have been a lot better. Moreau section, that section freaks me out because water, but like that section, I don't think there's any saving that section.
Do you have a thing with video game water?
Yeah, when I see things in deep water that are underwater, like the fish in Resident Evil 4, that freaks me out.
Okay.
The referencing the eel from Super Mario Sunshine also freaks me out.
That's what it always goes to for everyone. And I really, if I had the resources, I would love to see a study of like the correlation of people in the Super Mario 64 eel and now terror of video game water. Because everyone I says I hate water, they're like, I hate the eel from Super Mario 64 too. There's some type of correlation, I swear.
Now Heisenberg section is great to me for a lore perspective, but if there's one thing I'm going to complain about that I pray the both of you agree with me, that Chris Redfield section, why is that even in the game?
Which section?
The part when you play as Chris.
When you play as him.
Yeah, I hate that section. I hate it.
Because it is such an example, a good example of my problems with the game. That whole section is straight up action.
Yeah, and there's no breathing room in there. And I feel like
straight up action. You have no trouble with your ammo. Nothing like that. It is you just going through the village killing zombies.
I mean, it's the Lycan enemies are still the worst thing. I hate those things. Stupid sidestep maneuver. That pisses me off every time it happens.
Yeah, when I got to that section, I was definitely like, "Yo, we're playing as Chris." But like, looking at the product overall, I was just like, "Yeah, like this is weird." Like, but at the same time, I was hyped for it. But I do agree that I personally would have taken Jill. I want Jill Valentine back.
I wanted that section. I just want that section retconned out of the game.
Yeah, because you don't really need it. I mean, you could do some cutscene stuff, and then that'd be it.
Like, honestly though, like, why is that section there? Is it just to put padding for the reveal of Ethan? Like, is that literally why it's there, to just have that build up
to make you think that he's there?
Yeah, like that. Yeah. That's it. Like all of my like I love playing through the game, but then every time I get to that Chris Redfield section, I just hate the game at that point, and I hate it because like, especially when you have to use the laser targeting on the Mega Mycete, those enemies don't stop coming. No. And your targeting laser is so slow.
I guess that since I played it in normal, I didn't have any trouble with it.
Let me tell you, if you play that section on Village of Shadows difficulty, God help you.
No, I just would point at it and move. I would just move myself, but still keep pointing at the thing.
It doesn't work.
They never stop me.
No, but like enemies in Village of Shadows are hella fast. Chris's assault rifle, like his strong gun, if you shoot an enemy in the body, it takes like 13 bullets to kill an enemy. And the enemies
why are you shooting in the body? First off, why are you shooting an enemy in the body in Resident Evil?
The aiming is so bad.
That's Resident Evil though.
I
You've
know.
always had like not
I
great
know,
aim.
and that section doesn't work.
You would hate
Why does the
playing with adaptive triggers.
why does the gun only have 30 bullets? Why are the enemies so tanky?
Because
Also-
every bullet counts.
Oh my.
That's survival horror.
Not
That's Resident Evil.
not in Chris Redfield action section. Bullets don't matter. It's mowing people down.
Not if you're playing in normal.
Yeah.
So
As
Alan,
someone,
do you,
go ahead, Alan.
so,
No, fun fact
No.
for you. In Village of Shadows difficulty, your pistol can be fully upgraded. Lycans don't flinch from a single shot. Unless you shoot them square in the head.
Okay.
And
Good
the
to know.
Lycans select a sidestep way more. And they're the worst thing that ever existed. No, I love Resident Evil 8, but yeah, like and not even just because I played the game so many times, that Chris Redfield section just sticks out like a sore thumb. I love all the lore when you're in Miranda's lab though. Like I love reading about the other lords. I love reading that somehow Miranda connects to Spencer from
I feel like the
beginning.
connection was too convenient, maybe.
Yeah.
To Umbrella, because you see throughout the village the Umbrella symbol, and then you get to her lab, and then you get to the. I feel like this one later just tries to connect the
The
game
whole
so
thing.
hard because it's Spencer talking to her and basically telling her everything that sets up Umbrella. Like, oh, I like
that cool symbol in
that we see.
the altar yard.
I'm gonna use it on my company. And oh, hey, I know you are working on this stuff. I think that I should also work on that stuff, but do it with more people. And hey, I found this one thing that they're gonna use, and I'm gonna start my own pharmaceutical company, and yada yada yada. Basically, trying to connect them hard.
Spencer looked at that symbol in the altar yard and he was like, "Yo, that's mine." Like he told Miranda, he was like, "Hey, don't copyright that. I want to use that. I got some big plans for that symbol."
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
So you guys don't like the connection though? You guys feel like it's forced?
No, I mean,
like the connection, but
Ignacio feels like it's
connect
forced. I laughed at it, but I'm kind of down because I don't know a lot of the original lore. I thought it was kind of cool.
I like the connection. I wish that they would have been more subtle with it, more not because I feel like it all came. They tried to connect it so much in just one letter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like, how would you have felt if maybe they had more clues to Miranda's village and Spencer in letters throughout the game? Like, what
That
if
would have
they?
been better.
Yeah, like what if they just had it sprinkled of the visuals of like, ooh, wait, was Spencer maybe here?
One of the things that I thought was gonna be the connection, because you keep seeing the umbrella symbol and the umbrella symbol keeps being connected.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that Spencer would have somehow been connected to the old people from the village, because you in that one place where you have to place all the Rose's parts.
Yeah,
you
in the altar.
The section that's before that one, you see the 4 statues of people looking at it.
Yeah.
And so I thought that Spencer was probably gonna be connected to the older people that once lived there, like the first people from the village. I thought that was gonna be the connection, and it was somehow the Spencer family was somehow connected to like this cult or something that the umbrella symbol was gonna be a part of. But
but not just Spencer being the understudy of Miranda.
Being like a friend of Miranda and seeing the thing and thinking, oh, that's a cool logo. I'm gonna use it on my pharmaceutical company. And hey, you wanna bring back your daughter? I think that's a cool idea. But what if I do it with more people? And what if I use this one plant that I found in one of my travels? And it just kept going. The connection.
The one thing I want to add before I ask more of Calvin's opinions, I did think it was interesting when you read Miranda's books on the lords of her experiments on them, and I thought it was interesting that Heisenberg was technically a perfect vessel for Evelyn to come back. Miranda didn't use him, but I'm assuming Heisenberg didn't start out just hating Miranda right away, right? Because when you're reading her books, right, everyone was like either a failure, they're not suitable, they have a drawback.
Was he not a
Heisenberg had no negative side effect from the cow do.
I want to say that's correct. I'd have to look at the note. You can find them all online because truth be told, I've missed one. I had to go back and find it online because I'm so mad at myself.
I know the doll lady was supposed to be a good fit for.
No, but she had drawbacks because she had the mental instability from the experiment.
I'm concerned that she was the one that was like the good candidate.
No, Heisenberg had because Lady Dimitrescu needed blood constantly, and she grew in size, so that was her drawback. So if she didn't have regular injections of blood or regular ingestion of blood, she would probably mutate or be unstable. Moreau was just a failure all around. I mean, he was jank.
Or Moreau.
He was jank from the moment. Beneviento had mental instability. That was her drawback. But Heisenberg didn't have one because he melded perfectly. He could just control magnetic fields and metal, and he was a big fan of building blocks growing up or something.
I don't remember that part, but yeah, I wonder if, I don't know, because we never get into like what age she adopts these kids or and whatnot. So
it's led to believe she kidnapped them from neighboring villages. That's where they came from. Yeah.
So I wonder if, based on her data to that point, Heisenberg was the best specimen, and so was perfect.
Yeah.
But Rose was a child, or literally a baby, and I think who Miranda's child was also a baby. I forget if they ever say the exact age. It's on the gravestone.
She died from sun sickness.
It's the Spanish flu.
Yeah.
I mean, I did like the connections. I did like how 8 took place after 7. I do like realizing that Evelyn from 7 was a failure. Like, I thought that was cool. Like, and we haven't mentioned it. I did like the reveal of Ethan being a mold.
I didn't.
I kind of,
I saw that coming.
You what?
Yeah, well, because, okay, so we see that his daughter gets kidnapped, right? It's like, well, why do they want his daughter?
Yeah.
And so in Resident Evil 7, he's able to talk to Jack and like the little like mold mind sphere, whatever they're at. He's able to see Evelyn, and they talk about in the lore of 7 how whoever's like infected with the mold, you can see Evelyn. So he was infected to some degree.
Yeah.
So I figured that the baby is obviously like post whatever this infection is. It's obviously dormant because he's not doing anything while he's not attacking Mia, he's not going out rampaging the street as the mold.
He just wants his baby.
But I figured they wanted his baby because she had some form of mold in her.
Yeah.
So I knew that was gonna play into things at some point. So it's just like, okay, this kind of just strengthened where I was already going.
Maybe I'm just oblivious. I did not see the reveal of Ethan being a mold. Like, I mean, whenever Ethan just reattaches limbs and just survives attacks, I was just like, oh, it's just a video game. Ethan's just dummy invincible.
They made it very clear when they cut his arms that he was it. And it's not just his arm that reattaches.
It was his sleeve and everything.
That was a little much because I was like, well, that's just Resident Evil healing juice because people get bit all the time. What do they do with the herbs? We don't know because we see in 7 that you actually drink it or he pours it on.
Yeah. Puts his leg back on.
Yeah. What do they do with the herbs? Do they grind them up? I mean, I don't know. They never say. They're just like, oh, you combine green herb with red herb, triples the potency, and then now you're healed.
Dude, I don't know. I like when Ethan became a mold, when they were like, oh, well, okay, my only issue with Ethan's reveal being a mold, right, is Chris helped Mia and Ethan, like he relocated them and helped them, right? And he breaks into that cell, realizes it's Mia, right? And she's just, where's my husband? Oh, he's dead. He didn't make it. And Rose says, you're wrong about him. And I'm like, what? And Chris is like, no, he's dead. And she goes, I've been trying to keep this a secret, but it's like, what? Mia, what? Mia, how do you fucking... it was just so weird that Mia was just like, he's more special than you think. I've been trying to keep this a secret for so long. Like, what?
I have a problem with him being a mold. I always thought that him being able to reattach limbs and his healing thing was something that what are the people called in Resident Evil 7? The family?
The Bakers.
The Bakers?
The Bakers. I always thought that they had even made something that they gave to him that allowed him to reattach limbs or something like that. But then to make him, so in the end of it, he's not the same Ethan that came into the baker's farm.
No, because he was
died.
killed. He was killed.
He died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which blew my mind. It was like, yeah, you
So
were,
these
when
other
Jack stepped on you,
guys-
he killed you. And you're like, what? Ethan's dead? Plays a dead guy the whole game?
Yeah, so that's my problem with it, is that it retroactively means that the guy that you played through Resident Evil 7 first died on the beginning, trying to rescue Mia, and then you're playing as another guy, a fake, a clone, a
Well,
mold.
So one last, do you guys have any other like thoughts before I ask like my last question about like the end of the game?
Do you know what the adaptive trigger implementation was for the game? Since you never tried it? Or did you try it?
No,
At some
no,
point?
I never tried it. I don't turn my haptic feedback and vibrations on.
No, so you missed it. I
You
think
don't-
that
you
it would
don't
have made
either?
you.
Ah, sick.
I did. I think it would have made you hate the gameplay even more, the shooting even more, because
Really?
yeah, for heavier weapons like the shotgun, and I think also the sniper rifle, the left trigger has tension for you pulling
Okay.
it out. So you actually have to,
Like
Put in some
really
force to
press
pull it.
it down.
yeah, to pull it up to aim, and also I think
Oh.
to shoot. But when it gets cool is when you get to the part with the machine against Heisenberg. The
Oh, okay.
the machine gun has the kickback of
Yeah,
a
it has
machine gun.
it has a machine gun, then it has the rocket, and then the chainsaw guard.
Yeah, but the so the right trigger there has the kickback of a machine gun, which I thought was pretty cool.
Oh.
I missed out because I played on Xbox, so I missed
Oh.
out completely.
That expensive.
Yeah, so Calvin actually has reason. I
Yeah,
just
you just do not like
I
it.
just don't turn my cool next gen features on.
Yeah.
I mean, I have
So,
a PS5, so we got to be very, very clear that I have one. So
You could have done it. Well, so,
So Alan,
yeah, well no,
you played it.
yeah,
You played it 6 times.
yes,
What? How was the first playthrough of it?
it was
Was
amazing.
it but was
I
it normal difficulty,
I-
survival plus?
I
difficulty?
played
What
on
was it?
normal, and I had an overabundance of ammo. I got to Heisenberg's factory. I had like maybe like 15 grenade launcher bullets, and I was like, bro, I'm gonna murk these fools.
Yeah.
But like it, and like I think maybe retroactively it soured my hardcore playthrough, because then you just carry over New Game Plus, so I just had all my overpowered stuff. Shout out to the Stake Magnum, fully upgraded, has 4,500 attack power. Thing kills bosses in like a minute and a half.
Okay, good to know. I do still need to do my Village of Shadows run at some point, because I don't know if I'm going to 100% that game or not. Part of me wants to, but
I'm not. I'm.
yeah.
I don't like. I don't like legitimately, mercenary mode is not very great, and it not.
I like it. I do.
And it not being multiplayer is a big L. Big L.
I can see that. I mean, I think it's a fun addition to it, but
But now when you have to go for S ranks for the platinum, Calvin, come on.
that's fair. That's fair.
Come on.
That's why you do not do any of that.
But it gives me a unique perspective on the game, though. It drastically warps my opinion to anybody else.
Yeah, it makes you maybe dislike the game even more.
Hey, I still play the game 6 times. Clearly, I don't hate it.
Remember how much you liked Nier?
All right, anyways, so my
You used
closing
to like that game?
my closing question, segueing away from the replicant, because that game is never mind. What did you guys think of the skip to the future with Rose older?
I
Interesting.
have thoughts on that. Yeah, because it definitely interesting. But so they call her Evelyn at the end, right? And it's kind of like this like little punchy joke the FBI
thought he was
BSAA guy
super
throws out.
funny.
Dig move.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, I'm just joking.
Yeah, but
Dude.
my question is, does that mean that it's not that far in the future because she looks what like 15, 16. So, but does she actually age up at the same rate that maybe Evelyn did? Because we see that where she apparently ages very quickly, and then because they stopped giving her
remember,
the serum,
remember
she gets
that,
very old.
That Evelyn though was a failure. That probably added to her failure. So I think this Rose aged normally.
Okay.
I think. It just sucks because you don't see Chris, so you don't know how much older Chris looks.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
But do you think like Resident Evil 9, right? Do you think this is gonna do you think they're just gonna show you Rose and she'll be in like a spinoff or a future thing? Or do you think RE9 is gonna follow Rose? And like whatever it's gonna be this far in the future. And then do you want a game following Rose Winters?
I think it has to follow Rose. I think they said the father's story is now done.
Yeah.
Which implies that it's going to continue with the Winters family. I don't know if we're going to play as Mia or if we're going to play as Rose. I think Rose makes more sense, but she talks about having powers.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm intrigued, but also scared.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what that means. Because part of me wants to have like Resident Evil Forsaken. And if you've seen that game, but part of me is like, that's not what Resident Evil is though. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm legit because I'm trying to think, right? Because like Evelyn's powers were just to control mold and make mold, right? So when Rose says I can do things even Chris doesn't know, like, so what exactly like are there powers about Evelyn we just don't know she can do? Like what? Like if it's gonna be some weird thing that Rose is gonna shoot guns and she's gonna have some kind of like magic meter to just use mold or something.
Well, when you say it like that, yeah, it sounds ridiculous, but I wonder though, because does she have like a culmination of the powers? Like, for example, Mother Miranda she can mimic people, right? That's her power.
Yeah.
So can Rose do that? Can she, I don't know, can she do a Super Mario Odyssey and jump into people's bodies? Like, I don't know. I have so many questions about what that means.
What does it mean for her to be the kid of a mold?
I mean, I assume Rose has probably a similar thing with Ethan where she can reattach limbs or maybe she can heal rapidly.
Yeah, which would be convenient for a game.
So I mean, I'm gonna wait for Rose's head to get chopped off for her just to nonchalant reattach it with some liquid first aid med.
I'll say this. I haven't played 6. I don't know if this is 100% correct, but I know there's a character in there that's the son of Wesker who becomes super powered throughout Resident Evil series. So I wonder if it's kind of going to be a bit of a similar thing or not. I don't know if they're going to maybe take that idea and like, hey, it kind of sucked in 6. Let's make it work here. I don't know. I haven't played 6, so I can't say, but that's...
I almost platinum 6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Jake isn't like strong like Wesker. His big thing is he just has like the immunity to the virus that Wesker has.
Okay.
Because there's the only big part is that Wesker injects him, or Jake injects like the virus into him like everyone else does, and they all turn, but he's fine. Because he doesn't, he's not like super strong. He gets his ass beat up in the game, so I assume he's not OP as crap. He's getting his butt handed to him.
He's not doing backflips over missiles and stuff like that.
Yeah, no. Honestly, Chris does more of the weird crap in that game. Resident Evil 6 is a strange game. It's a weird game. Mm-hmm. That Resident Evil 6 is like several. It's like Resident Evil 4, 5. It's it's like Resident Evil 2, 5, and kind of a stealth game all in one. It's so Ignacio.
Something for everyone.
Yeah, for better or worse. So closing thoughts, Ignacio. What's just your closing thoughts on Resident Evil 8? Would you recommend this to somebody? Would you play this again? Do you think the franchise should go in the opposite direction of Resident Evil 8? Should they kind of just refine what Resident Evil 8 is?
Like I talked about, I do have my problems with Resident Evil 8, but I still, at the end of it, I did enjoy my time with it. I came out of Resident Evil 7 thinking that Ethan was an asshole and a bad character. I still think Ethan is an asshole in this game, but I think my opinion of him has it bettered my opinion of him. I still do not like his reactions to things that happen around him.
You don't
He
like
never
that part.
reacts good to it.
You don't like that
to
part
anything.
where he pulls the butt of the water and he goes, "Call me a big one." Come on, Calvin. Same to you. What are your closing thoughts on Resident Evil 8?
It was a blast. I know, fun fact, I played that game in a 10.5-hour stream the second day it came out because
Yeah.
I'm wild. But yeah, you asked Ignacio if you'd recommend it. I would definitely recommend it to someone for sure. I would say play 7 first. I know there's a little recap in there, but if it came to recommending a Resident Evil game in general, I'm still going to say 2. 2 is
Yeah.
my favorite.
2
Remake
remake,
2 is my
everything.
favorite. Yeah.
4.
The best. No,
No.
2.
No.
2. 2 is the
Until
best
they
in the
remake
series.
4, I don't think it is good to recommend it to anyone.
4 holds
I
up.
do want to play that VR version though.
4 holds up so well.
I also want to play it here.
4 holds up so well.
I
does.
doubt it.
But it's not 2.
Well, I mean, my closing thoughts are pretty unanimous. I would say I would play Resident Evil 8 again, but I've already played it a lot, so I've already succeeded in what I would recommend. But I would recommend you play Resident Evil 8. I mean, if you like 7, if you like 4, and you want to kind of see the hybrid baby of the two, then play Resident Evil 8. I think the only thing I would have changed was that Chris section. I just have it be a glorified cutscene. That was it. But I would recommend you play Resident Evil 8. But this. So I'm bad at segues, so I should make Kyle make something. Cue up the awkward anime dub cutaway to something else.
Don't you lecture me with your $30 haircut. Goku dies. Dang it, boy, shoot.
Calvin, where can people watch you not play Resident Evil 8 for 10.5 hours?
So you can find me at twitch.tv/AmazeHobbs. I'm AmazeHobbs on everything. If it's the social media, I'm probably on it at some point, but that's where I'm at. I
And-
stream Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday.
And the Discord, which is not Amaze Hobbs, it's something else.
Oh yeah, that's the That's Rad Discord. We're kind of growing there. That's my little stream community. Pop in the stream, do the exclamation Discord command, it'll pop up for you.
All right.
Love to have you there. So come hang out.
Nice. Ignacio, I think people know where to find you, but if I wanted to find you, where could me and everyone else who doesn't know you find you?
Well, people can find me on Twitter at IgnacioRojasB. That's IGNACIOROJASB.
And you can find me at Twitch as well, at twitch.tv/AzurePKK. Hop in the stream and tell me that that I take the long road. Because I still take long roads, and For
You
better or
should
worse.
Take the land road.
take the long road.
Never the high road, always the long road.
Yep, never high road or short road. It's always the long one. You know what? It's fine. You burn more calories that way. You get more exercise. But thank you guys for watching, and check out our other shows at the Whatnauts, Crossplay, Captain's Log, everywhere else. But I'm not going to plug that because that's Kyle's job and not mine, not yet. But I guess we'll get out of here, so see you later.